With the economy growing at a phenomenal rate combined with a flourishing democracy, India is the new global buzzword. Yet the country remains shackled in red tapeism, age old social barriers, corruption, and a puzzling lack of transparency. Growth is not uniform across sectors, and large cross sections of the populace remain outside its purview. Of the eight richest people in the world, four are Indian, while one out of every five poor people in the world is also an Indian. 26% of Indians live in abject poverty. There are multi billionaires coexisting with impoverished farmers. Tell them that the economy is growing at a rate of 8.6%. It's hardly consolation for the empty stomachs their kids go to bed with every night. Then what does the growth figure indicate? Is it superficial numbers to satisfy the masses? Or is it the cruel twist of indices that seems to forget to take into account that two little words? Inclusive growth. I, Ashna Dhingra, put forward a new growth story of the Indian economy. Let us propose a definition of inclusiveness that involves four attributes. First, opportunity. Is the economy generating more and varied ways of people to earn a living and increase their incomes over time? Second, capability. Is it providing the means for people to create or enhance their capabilities in order to exploit available opportunities? Third, access. Is it providing the means to bring opportunities and capabilities together? Fourth, security. Is it providing the means for people to protect themselves against a temporary or permanent loss of livelihood? The Indian scenario reveals otherwise. A near stagnant growth in agriculture, plus weak infrastructure, and key impediments for India's growth, since they are the sectors which employ most of the lower sections of the Indian population. Ironically, in a country of 100 billion, lack of skilled manpower is the biggest hurdle towards an inclusive growth story. The reason: educated people do not necessarily translate into employable people without opportunities or access to the same. The term inclusive growth is finding its way increasingly in the lexicon of government leaders, economists, planners, and businessmen. And it's true that over the years, several policies have been formulated and even implemented by the government, like loan waivers and the NREGA. But do these policies actually serve the purpose of alleviating the poor? These schemes throw money at the destitute without actually helping them climb the economic ladder. In the long run, they could purposely prevent people from moving out of their low productivity traps in rural India. In a way, rural Indians now have the incentive to keep digging a ditch and refilling it. I believe that true inclusive development would mean that the poorest Indians get a chance to move into the modern high productivity sectors. The solution: legislative interventions that will empower the disadvantaged, greater ease of doing business, along with a constructive public private partnership for socially responsible growth is imperative and must occupy a larger space in business strategies. New labor laws give companies reason to use less expensive capital and more permanent labor. Inter alia will lead to employment generation. The private sector could also develop tourist spots and encourage the promotion of traditional arts and crafts in joint ventures with rural enterprises. Provision of subsidies and microcredit can also benefit the poor if it is done on certain conditions which drives them to work for their living. Public investment in education will help the poor acquire the skills needed in modern jobs. It should be realized that economic growth alone is not enough if it does not provide a flow of benefit that is sufficiently widespread. Of course, we need a faster growth to expand the productive base of the economy, but equally important is that growth process is more inclusive. A growth process that brings about a more sustainable reduction in poverty, which generates expansion in good quality employment opportunities and enhances the capabilities of the people through the process of skilled based education and efficient health services. Yes, India is the biggest democracy, but does it really offer an average Indian the choice that it ought to? Yes, the average Indian has the power to change the regime every 5 years. But does this change really bring about a significant transformation in the life of that Indian or the policies which he is governed? Going by the deteriorating state of the poor, the answer seems to be no. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, that we change the paradoxical dynamics of the Indian economy.